Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans, and I'm your weight loss coach, health strategist, and internationally published author, helping take your life and your business, your health, fitness, mindset, and body from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be. And I've got a truly amazing guest with me today. Her name is Natasa Denman, and she teaches you how to write a book in 48 hours. How special is that? Natasa is a 12-time published author. She's helped over 400 entrepreneurs become first-time authors. She's been nominated for the Telstra's prestigious Businesswoman of the Year award twice. She's had extensive media coverage. She's the creator of the ultimate 48-hour author blueprint. She has her own publishing company called Ultimate World Publishing. And she also hosts retreats, which she's going to talk about at the end, where she teaches people how to write their books in 48 hours. Please welcome.
Thank you so much, Rob. I'm excited.
Yeah, fantastic. So writing a book is just so special, isn't it? And I love your background there with all the, obviously, the authors that you've helped get out their first time books. Yeah. Tell me, what is it that excites you about helping authors get that first book out? And obviously subsequent ones, but what excites you?
Well, the very first thing is because we specialize in first-time authors who are very, very fearful about the process, is seeing how they change. So I have a quote that I'm known for saying is that writing your first book is not about the book, but about the person you become at the other end of it. So the first thing that excites me is when I see people who are really shy, reserved, scared, to just really blossom and like really grow in their confidence and self-worth. Yeah. And then of course, the other thing is when I then see them build 6 to 7 figure businesses behind their books, because we call your book is your business card on steroids. So yes. That's the exciting part.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've got this very special gift where you teach people how to do it in 48 hours. Now, having written a book myself and how long it took me to get that done, and certainly didn't have it in 48 hours. I suppose 2 questions. One, what made you think about doing it in 48 hours? And walk us through how you do it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. I've always been a person to just go and try stuff rather than I've invested in a lot of mentors and coaches over the years. I've been around for 11 years now, but writing a book in 48 hours was something I kind of figured out. I stumbled upon. I went away on a weekend with fellow business a colleague, and we were going to co-write a book. And we said, why don't we just go away? You write 6 chapters, I'll write 6, and we're going to work really hard, but I think we can pull it all together in a weekend. And prior to going away, I actually had this idea to interview a social media guru for a bonus chapter in that book, because this book was all about marketing your business from the couch. And I go, okay, why don't we add extra value? And I will go interview this guy, Daniel. And we sat down after one of these networking events we were a part of, and he started talking, and I was furiously taking notes on the clipboard, and I'm like, hang on. I can't even listen to you. I'm like too distracted. Why don't I actually just record our interview on my phone, on the voice memos, and actually just listen and then go home and make sense out of it? So I recorded the 20 minutes. I went home, and I don't know if you've ever tried to transcribe anything, because everything he was saying was so cool, right? And so I was just like, no, I want this word for word, right? And I've got permission to use it. So off I went, and I hired a transcriptionist on a website nowadays called upwork.com. And for $20 we got the 20-minute interview transcribed, and it came back and it was like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like him. I couldn't have said it better myself. And so what I needed to do, however, is clean it up a little bit. So when we speak, we use longer sentences, and we have some idiosyncrasies in our speech. We might say a lot of so, or absolutely, or obviously, like they repeat certain words. And so there's a certain amount of cleanup that's required. But then as I was getting ready for this weekend away with my colleague, I had this really tough schedule sorted out. And as I was showing her, like, how we're going to type for 90 minutes, we're going to have 15-minute break, we're going to type for 90 minutes, we're going to have lunch. And then I said, stopped myself, and I said, hang on a second. If Daniel's interview was 20 minutes and he gave us this many words on paper, then we need to speak for 17 to 20 minutes per chapter And then over 12 chapters, that would mean we'll get our 40,000 words, which is kind of the sweet spot for books nowadays. Yeah. Not too long,
Right.
but too short. And we unpacked our chapters. So I call this, so prior to going away, if you're going to do this the way I've described it, you need to do chapter unpacks. So we have a template system of how you would unpack, depending if it's a how-to book or a life story. And we went away with what I call the cheat notes or the structure, so that you don't get stuck, you don't get writer's block. And we smashed it out. And actually not in 48 hours. Let me tell you, it took 3.
3 hours.
3.
Wow.
Because, listen, 17 to 20 minutes over one chapter. And we were doing only 6 chapters each. So let's say you paused, you took a drink of water or whatever. You took half an hour to do a chapter. And that was it. So because we're doing half a book each, in 3 hours it was done. And we ended up having a girls' weekend away, to be honest. And the book was then out 72 days later because it needed to go obviously through the publishing process of editing, layout, all the polishing, right? Yes. But the actual work to execute was so, even my husband ended up cleaning up my chapters because I spoke it, gave it to transcription. My husband did the cleanup. I did not even look at the content after I had executed it.
Wow, that's really impressive. But when you break something big like the end product down like that, it becomes so much more simple.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my brain just works in a particular, very organized fashion. But of course, the first step is book unpack. So the big, let's say 12 chapters, because 12 chapters can be a 12-week online program or a 12-month. So it's a nice little chunk of, if you can kind of keep it to the 12 is our recommendation. Some authors do more and some do less. And then it's the chapter unpacks. So first the book unpack, then you go chunk it further down, and then you're ready to kind of execute and smash it out over a weekend away.
Yeah, fantastic. So you were telling me about this trilogy of books that you've got that really help people go through the different, I guess, the processes and journey that they go from being beginning author to the end process. Do you mind just telling us a little bit about each book there? Because I think each one is very powerful and really important.
Yeah. So the first one is Shut Up and Write Your First Book. I think it's also behind me there. And this is the mindset piece of the puzzle. I say you need 3 things to win. And the first one is your mindset. Okay, you need to get over yourself, get out of your own way, because that's the stuff that's holding you back. It's not time or money, which is what people always can say. It's actually your fear and self-doubt around it. So this book was a collection of the 48 things that stand in your way that I've learned through thousands of people that have been at my initial seminar that I host.
And so could I just jump in there? Yeah. What would be, so I'm sure many people would resonate with this, what would be some of the things that stop people?
Well, for self-doubt and fear are one, obviously procrastination, and time and money are certainly there, but they're not in the top one. You know, that fear of not being good enough, you know, the imposter syndrome. I mean, oh God, the 48, I'll read them out here. Criticism, garage full of books. Let me go here. Resistance, you know, that pops up in your life to stop you. You said that you're going to do it and then something pops up in your life. People who try to steal your dream, spousal approval, healing, trolls out there on the internet. God, there's 48, 48 that I need. We're actually going to give the listeners a free copy of this so they can check them all out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the first one.
That's the first one. Yep. And then the second one is, of course, the system. So Ultimate 48-Hour Author. This actually has an updated cover. They all look the same now. I've updated the covers, but here where I'm currently, I don't have the newest covers with me because I'm in another state. So this talks about structure and publishing. Okay. So this is like, how do you break it all down? What I just described briefly before. And then what do you need to know about the publishing industry? Because what I've worked out, there's a light and a dark side of publishing that you need to ask the right questions and source out the people that are really going to be on your side, and they're not going to harass you, which is what has happened to me. That I'm only talking from experience. And so that's the second book. So that's the how-to, I call the process. Yeah. Certainly
from my experience, you write the book and I don't know, like you mentioned before about the journey and being at the end. And when I look back, writing the book was kind of the easy part. It's the publishing and the editing, or the editing, the publishing, all of that kind of stuff that you just don't even comprehend when you're starting to write the book. Yeah, it was quite overwhelming, I found.
Oh my goodness. We have over 35 emails on the publishing journey as our authors enter in, like all the little steps they've got to go through. We've broken it right down, and they get so much education because we believe first-time authors need the most hand-holding. So we've like kind of like templated everything out for them. And of course, having the right people. Like if you're just gone out there to do it on your own, you don't even know how to pick an editor or who's a good designer, all that. So this is why I say you can attempt writing your book on your own, even though for your first one, I think you should have mentorship start to finish. But please, whatever you do not try to publish it by yourself, because you're going to end up probably with a product that looks like it's been done in your bedroom or your garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the third one?
Okay, I don't have it here on me because, as I said, I'm not in the house. But again, it looks the same, and it's green, like bright green, and it's called "Shut Up and Sell Your First Book."
Yes, okay? Right. Okay.
So you said publishing is tough. Well, I challenge you to say that this third
getting rid of the thing is harder. Yeah.
Start Up and Sell Your First Book is the 48 strategies. Obviously, with the number 48, I've chosen it strategically there, that, can help you leverage your way to success. Yeah. And so I go through the things that I've seen my authors do successfully to move books, but the things that I have done. And then not a lot of them, not all of them are purely, this is how you move X amount of books, but some of them are really like deeper thinking strategies. It's not just about the book, but what does it represent? Yeah, how do you get speaking gigs because you're now an author? How do you build other online programs or things behind it? Because really the money within that is massive. It's so scalable.
Maybe could we explore that a little bit more? Because I think, we're holding this book that may be, I don't know, let's just say it's $30 of retail value, but the content in it is really worth thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. But we often get paralyzed and think, okay, I've now got this book, I'm holding it in my hands, and I've got all these boxes in the garage of these books, but what am I going to do with it? How do I get rid of it? How do I turn that book into a speaking gig? How do I turn it into, well, I guess before you even turn it into something, it's about, for those first-time authors, having a vision for what the possibilities are, and how do you take people on that journey to see, what the potential is?
Well, everyone will be different with leverage. Some people, want to do a ton of speaking. Other people want to develop an online course and actually not be too much in the public eye, if you like, and have all of the more online stuff and not be face-to-face or, even turn up live, even if it's on Zoom. So everyone will be a little bit different. And when I do my seminar, I show this crazy mind map that has the book as the central point, and it's got like about 30 different arms of where and what you can do with it. And I say, it's not about doing everything. It's about finding what, according to your personality, what are the top 3 things that you're going to rinse and repeat that are going to work really, really well for you. Okay. So for me, it's been social media, speaking gigs, and my preview event. And then things that I just do over and over and over again. Now, I've done publicity, leverage through publicity, online programs, further product development, podcasts. Today's podcast interview, I had at one point a year where I was like on 50 different podcasts, and you could do the podcast circuit, and that gives you a lot of exposure and things like that because you're an author. So there's just so many things that are possible. It's just what suits your personality. And this is why I give my authors, well, like I say, when you work with me, we can get the finished book, but our real work starts as to what happens after it and where you are 2 to 3 years from its publishing.
Yes. Yeah, right. So tell me your own personal goals in terms of growing your business over this next 12 months. Actually, it was interesting because this only came up when we were connecting the other day, and you mentioned this, which it makes sense, but I hadn't thought about the impact of COVID and how busy you might be because more people are writing their books and so forth. But the impact that COVID's had on your business, you personally, obviously you're living in a different state now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and your plans for the next 12 months, I'd be just curious
Yeah.
to know.
Well, COVID really put my back up against the wall, being an offline business, touring around Australia 2 or 3 times, couple of tours in the US. I had a partnership in the Middle East. I went over there a couple of times, and everything was face-to-face, our retreats and everything. And I was like, oh, I was on the verge of a 17 event tour when everything shut down. And one part of the tour was another USA trip that we were meant to go to. And it was really scary. But I said, there's no other way. What I do can be done on Zoom. It can be. And so I contacted everyone, told them, some people showed up and some people didn't. It was a percentage, what people preferred. And it was really crappy the first 2 or 3 events. But then, oh my goodness, it went gangbusters. Like we expanded in US and Canada permanently, if you like. We were sort of dabbling there for a couple of years, but now we're like really well established with our Canadian and US authors. And we had the best year in 2020 in business. It's continued to be very steady and consistent throughout 2021. And I just love what I do. But one of the things, I don't have any massive goals to grow this any bigger than it is right now. We help about 120 people publish their books every year. We like the family feel. So it's me, my hubby, my mum quit her job 3 years ago, joined the family, got 2 girls in publishing. Of course, we've got contractors like our editors, our designers, but the permanent team are like 6 people. And this is a multi-7-figure business. And I don't need anything more than that. I want to hang out with my 3 kids. And we've got real estate. So actually, maybe my goals are, I've just spoken to my mortgage broker, and apparently he's going to make us property moguls. We've got 7 or 8 properties already, but it's like we're working on different strategies now. I think what I do is very rewarding, and I love working with people. And this is what keeps me entertained.
Yes.
And couldn't think of anything worse than just sitting on the beach all the time. But
you get too bored.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to continue living a lifestyle and have the lifestyle business, but feel really close to the people that work with me, because they, like, now that I'm on the Gold Coast, as you said, I have so many friends here because a lot of them are my authors, but they've become so close that I can go to any city in Australia and be like settled in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And I will point out to the listeners that you are from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I'm still in Melbourne, stuck here, and you're in Gold Coast with freedoms, and I'm locked down here still.
Yeah,
and
I know.
That completely stinks. Tell me, what do you see happening in the the growth area of books in general? Because I don't know whether it's now because I'm closer to it, I'm talking to more authors and publishers as well, and having gone through the experience myself. But I just get the sense that we're living in a time now where more books are being written than ever before. Maybe because it's like people like you that are helping make the process more seamless. But then on the other side, you could see, well, with the technology advancements and everything, books will eventually disappear. Me personally, I want to hold one. I don't like reading them electronically. But what are your thoughts?
Same as you. I don't know if it's our generation that likes to hold one, but I think physical books are never gonna. There's something special about holding a book. I certainly believe that your book should always be converted into an ebook once it's ready as a paperback. There's no need in today's world to stock too many paperback books in your garage. You can have print on demand and just use whatever you need and provide it as it is. I think I don't think this industry is going anywhere. I think it's very therapeutic reading a book or even writing a book. And so what if a lot of people are writing them? I always say to my authors, don't worry if there's thousands of books, millions of books in self-help or health or weight loss and all that sort of stuff. What matters is how you deliver your message, and it's your passion, energy, and enthusiasm and your flavor that you bring out that makes you stand out. No one can take that out of you. I say people can, do the similar things, but it's the people who shine bright and really yell it out from the rooftops about what they're so passionate about that end up being successful. So don't be scared about competition or how many books they've been written, because no one can do you. And that's why I say every book is unique.
Yeah, great point. I mean, when I was thinking about mine, because it's in the area of weight loss, mind transformation, and so forth, I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to compete when the publisher asked me, like, where would you see your book? You know, like who would be the books that it would be next to? And you start to think about who they would be and think, oh golly, what's going to stop, you know, them picking up my book rather than picking up something like Gillian Michaels' books or something like that. So I did have to find a bit of an edge difference, but you're right. Each person does it differently.
Yeah.
And you'll have a certain part of the audience that will not resonate with you, and you'll have a part that will.
Oh, yes, I agree.
So in terms of why you think people are getting their messages out now, because I do feel that there's just books everywhere now. People are just putting out their content, which I think is fantastic. What do you think is driving that? Is it a sense of everybody's got a message and there's a confidence in just the way things are changing to just say, I've got something a story I want people to hear?
Well, we've become a lot more entrepreneurial as a society, and we've seen the power of influencers, and they were just everyday people who just started documenting and sharing what they were doing in their lives, and whatever their strength was became a framework that they're now coaching others in and all that sort of stuff. So I think everyone's got something within themselves that others can benefit from. And if you've got the savviness to create a framework, then that's, you know, very much usable by other people. You're creating a shortcut, because we often take for granted what we're really good at. And I have two questions that might help the listeners that I say about niching or what should you write about. For first question is, start to hear when people say to you, how do you do that? How do you do that? You know, every book I've written ever since the first couple was just to answer that question, so I don't keep repeating myself. This yellow one here in my background, fully booked retreats, was because people kept saying, how do you run these high-end retreats and always get, you know, and 4 times a year and all these people come and all this sort of stuff. So I would write the book for it because, you know, they just kept asking me. So I wanted to break down, reverse engineer what I do. Basically. And the second question is, what do other people see in you that they want for themselves? What do other people see in you that they want for themselves? And generally there's a book in that. And a lot of the time, every single book will have the person's story. Now, it might not be full autobiography, but you should always be sharing your zero to hero story and a little bit about who you are, because that's where people relate. And then they're ready to listen to a system or a framework.
Yeah, really well said. Really well said. You're giving us some great nuggets here. Now, I know that there'll be people listening and still thinking, oh man, this just seems overwhelming. I don't know how to get started and so forth. But you said something at the start there where we were talking about, you know, how do you write your book in 48 hours? And you said going away for a weekend. And I love the word immersion, because that's effectively what you did. You went away and you immersed yourself, and you had a framework before you went. It's like, okay, now let's just apply it. It's like 20 minutes of recording, bang, done. There's a chapter. What's the next chapter, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I love about what you do is you have, as you just hinted there with the retreats, you do these workshops. So let's talk about those, because then I'm sure there will be people listening that would be interested.
Yeah, totally. I've been running this seminar for 8 years, about 40 times a year. So I've done like 120 of them, and I'm still not sick of them. Like, people, every time they turn up, they go, oh my God, you're so full of energy, enthusiasm. And I feel like I'm on autopilot. Of course, some days I'm like really like sort of fueled to run them. And some days I'm like you can be exhausted, but I turn up and put on 100%. And the seminars are really a prerequisite for someone to even qualify to come to the next step, which might be the virtual retreat. You know, there's no cost to them. They're complimentary. We go through 3 key things. So I certainly talk through my story in a little bit more depth and detail behind what I explained at the beginning of how I got to where I did. And over the last 10 years, these 14 books I've written, all this sort of stuff, and how they were leveraged even to licensing and things like that that I've done over the time. We go through a book unpack. So My husband does that segment where he'll show and talk through hypnotic language and hypnotic words, and how do you do chapter titles, blurb, titles, taglines, and all that sort of stuff. So he does an educational of that. Then we go on a break, we come back, we do talk about the publishing industry. So we do explain traditional publishing, self-publishing, 48-hour author, pros and cons in all of those. We talk about bestseller and how much of a strategy and a hack that is and how it happens. And then last of all, we go into leverage. So as I said, I have this mind-blowing mind map that I show, and I go through and give examples of leverage and what you could do, without technology skills, but also with. And then we explain, of course, the process of the retreat, and then we invite people to qualify because we work with small groups of 15 to 20 at our retreats. We want to make sure it is an absolute match, because the people that come into our community generally stay for years.
Yes.
But they not only end up writing their first book, their second, third. I'm up to this guy. Where is his book? No, where is it? I'm trying to see which book. There's so many. Better Me. This one above my shoulder here. Better Me. That's on his 5th book with me.
Wow.
His 5th book. So it is a very long-term kind of relationship, and we want to make sure we're going to have an awesome time, but we're going to be very productive together. And therefore, we say we have also a no dickheads policy as well. So we've got to qualify people in.
Yeah, you only want to be working with committed people, don't you? I'm going to put you on the spot here. So of the people that go, do you have some sort of what percentage of people that attend these events then go on to hold their book?
Yeah, so I know the percentage of people who come to my retreats is 93% follow through rate.
Wow.
Which is massive.
That's impressive.
Because I trick them. This is how I trick them. I'll tell you what. I make them a mock-up cover, which is a 3D version of what the cover may look like. It may not look like that in the end, but we make them pre-launch their book on the day 1 of the retreat.
Okay.
And they already have a PayPal or a website set up to take payments. So when they announce they're away and they're writing their book, and here's a special price for the pre-launch, and obviously people buy it. Everyone that pre-launches, and 95% of people pre-launch because they see everyone doing it. So yeah, I'm going to do it, And so now they've announced that their book is going to be out in the next 3 to 4 months, because it's got to go through the publishing, of course, afterwards. And people have paid the money. So guess what?
Got to do it now.
Have to do it. You've promised people, they've given you money. You're no longer accountable to me or your retreat buddies. You're accountable to those that have given you money, and that's your cure to procrastination. So look, 93% of people that do the program properly will follow through, and that's what I pride myself on, is that I hate people flushing their money down the toilet. I've seen it way too much in this education and mentorship world, where it's well known that only 3% of people utilize information and actually create amazing things from it, and I've learned it, and I've seen it all the time of the programs I've been a part of, how many people just default or don't follow through.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant strategy. Well done. So I think if anyone's listening right now and you are committed to doing a book, then, you're going to be successful. And that's really, really impactful. Couple of final questions. Given that you're surrounding yourself with books, why? I suppose 2 questions. What sort of books do you like to read?
Yeah. And
maybe 1 or 2 of the most empowering, impactful books that you've come across through your life.
Well, I'd like to be very productive with my time. My husband loves reading his fantasy novels and goes into these worlds of, I don't know, dragons or whatever.
Yeah.
I love self-help. I love
that's me.
Health and business strategy ones, kind of thing. And sometimes spiritual, just something to zen out on. So they're kind of my thing. And I read them on my holidays, in my spare time, I just really enjoy it. And the thing is, whenever I read a book, I always action something from it. Yeah. And sometimes I get myself into trouble that it's, oh no, I've learned all this new stuff. Now I'm going to put it into action because it's just my personality. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I love. Books that have impacted me, I would have to take you back probably 20 years ago, before I even became this entrepreneur. There was a speaker by the name called Terry Hawkins. She was from Queensland. She now lives in America, and she wrote a book, There Are 2 Times in Life, Now and Too Late. and she delivered a keynote for, back then I was a manager at OPSM, and I was so impressed and inspired by her. And then I bought her book after her talk, of course. She signed it and all that. I kept it. I reckon I read it 10 times over. I kept giving it to my first lot of coaching clients, as when they sign up for their package, I would give them, like, I bought like 20 or 30 books of her so I could give it to everyone that I was coaching. So I would have to say that's a standout. And I always wondered, like, you know, when I sat there in that audience listening to her, I go, what does someone have to do what she does? It just looks so much fun. And I spoke at a conference probably 10 years after that conference, where she had spoken in the past. It was a corporate gig. And they said, you remind us of Terry Hawkins. She used to speak at our conferences. I go, oh my God, I became her.
Wow.
Later. So I would have to say that's my sort of one that really stands out in my head, that shifted probably the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think this is what those people that are aspiring to be authors out there right now, you just don't know how your message will connect with someone. And it may not be as soon as you write it. It may be somebody that picks it up years later. And, you know, if you can impact at least one person's life, then I'm sure you as an author feel like you've done your job. But of course, you'll help hundreds, thousands of people in that time. So I think, you've given us so many golden nuggets here today. And I think really made the process a lot simpler for those first time authors that just think, oh golly, I can't see how I could take my thoughts to paper and to get it into a published book. So I think you've come up with a really great trilogy. You've got a great blueprint for success. And, I'm honored to have you on the show today, Natasha. It's been a great thrill for me.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful, and I hope that anyone that's listened will at least take a couple of actions from what they heard, because I always say don't waste your time listening or reading books and attending seminars unless you're going to go 2 things, and by the time you've done 2 things from everything that you're listening or attending or learning, it just accumulates.
That's a great point, because obviously we're out of the real networking and we're doing only virtual stuff these days, but so many people go to events, but they never follow through, or they read a book and they don't take any action from the book. And that's just wasted energy, really. I just want to remind everybody, I'm going to put a link below the podcast to your free seminars that you do, so that they can come along and, learn how to do this for themselves. I think you're great for the industry, and thanks for all the great work that you're doing out there.
I really, really appreciate it. And if you register for the seminar, you will get a free version ebook of this book. So
yeah, fantastic.
Read that before you come to it, because that's your pre-learning.
That's your homework. Yeah. All right. Well done. All right. Well, great to speak with you today. And
thanks Rob. Bye.
Bye.